Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome everyone to this May 16th, 2023 regular meeting of the City of Powell River Committee of the Whole to order. We start today by acknowledging we are holding this meeting on the traditional territory of the Tla'amin Nation, who have stewarded this land for time and memorial. Before we get to the agenda today, I did want to take a moment to mention that this week is Local Government Awareness Week, and all week you will see a mention on the city's Facebook page featuring some of our departments and staff members that help keep our city running. So give them some likes and support and share some love for our city staff. Secondly, we have a good crowd in attendance today. I just wanted to remind everyone that we are in a meeting and to maintain appropriate conduct. So we'll ask that the applause and heckling is kept to a minimum or non-existent during the meeting. We have some signs in the crowd as well. If there's any signs that are personal in nature, this is a place of work for our councilors and city staff. So if there's a sign that does address someone by person, we ask that you put it face down for the benefit of the meeting to create a happy workplace. And finally, before we get into the agenda, I did want to take a moment to introduce, for those who haven't had a chance to meet, our new interim CAO. Tom Day is joining us today and at this first meeting. He will be here for the next little while and help us steer the ship, I should say, and help in the process of finding our new full-time CAO. So Tom, thank you for joining us. All right, we'll start off with the agenda. Staff, I don't believe we have any changes to the agenda. Any changes from council? Seeing none, do we get a motion from Councillor Isaacson, second from Councillor Elliott. All in favor? Passed unanimously. Moving on to adoption of the minutes. We need a motion for the adoption. Councillor Isaacson on the motion. Councillor Elliott on the second. Any other discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Passed unanimously. Moving on to delegations, 3.1. We'll bring Noel up, I believe. Is Noel in the crowd? Okay, come on up, Noel. Just a reminder for delegations, there's a 10-minute presentation for delegations, and questions for topics related to today's meeting will be taken at the end of the session today before we adjourn. So, Noel, the floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Noel Poulin, for those that don't know me. I'm here for a delegation for the individuals, as well as part of the Cabin Owners Association. Vehicle break-ins at Moat Bay parking lot for trucks and trailers on February 25th and March 11th of 2023. We do happen to have a number of individuals whose trucks were broken in. Myself was one of them here in the crowd today to show a little bit of support. I do have I brought this forward to our AGM at the Cabin Association, and it was approved under that meeting, and we had the petition signed with a number of people, which I can give to you at the end of this. But we did want to come back and make sure that we were heard and put forward some of the stuff. I'd like to actually also thank Jim Palm, who has walked me through this process, which I first have actually been here to any of these meetings, and appreciate that, Jim. So in total, 8 vehicles have been broken into the course of these 2 weekends. I'm not sure if any further damage or any other vehicles have been broken into prior or since that time frame. Damage to all the vehicles incurred broken windows, in many cases more than one per vehicle, paint and interior damage, broken dry boxes, and numerous items, money, and credit cards stolen. Over the 2 weekends, individual owners of the above vehicles now had to open up insurance policies for the vehicles repaired by ICBC with a minimum of $300 per vehicle. For those who had money and or valuables stolen, they will also either be out of pocket or will have to make another claim based on their home insurance, which could be upwards of $500 or whatever that deductible may be. So depending on the insurance package and definitely their cost to the policies. This parking lot is a paid parking facility owned by the City of Powell River. It's not only utilized by the citizens of Powell River, but visitors as well. Many cabin owners on Powell Lake purchase seasonal parking passes annually, and require the facility to access their cabins. We anticipate the proceeds of the parking fees are going to help out in the maintenance for the park and also for the launch at Moa Bay. The parking lot does not currently have lights or security cameras, but it does have a gate to exclude access, which I understand is not currently in use. The delegation has come to you in chambers to discuss what actions this mayor and council plan to do to fix the problem. Some considerations that we'd like to bring forward as follows. Install overhead lighting and signage of surveillance. Install surveillance cameras and provide security similar to the recreation complex. Install a caretaker similar as to the Shingamel parking lot that seems to have definitely worked wonders in the last couple of years there. Utilize the gate and a lockdown site between whatever period of time that may or may not work, whether it's midnight to 5 or 6 a.m. seems to be the witching hour around town. Increase security measures. The site is monitored daily by city bylaw staff who ticket and fine vehicles without paid parking passes. Maybe also be able to provide further security at night. Petition the RCMP to increase their patrols of the law and update city bylaws for any of the above. I have chatted with the RCMP in regards to the break-ins for those 8 vehicles, and at this time there has been no charges to my knowledge. They definitely need security surveillance to identify or have an eyewitness to identify anybody who is actually breaking in. And if it's the middle of the night, then we don't seem to have that there. I think a surveillance cameras properly placed within and adding some lighting would certainly make it a little more difficult for those who want to take advantage of us that are gone overnight. Some of the things that did come back in there were that, once we brought it out, was the security, and security cameras also may help out for any kind of accidents and whatnot at the dock. As we all are aware, it's a very busy dock. There's lots of swimmers that are involved in and around, even though the signage is there. It just may also be beneficial to the city to have that extra insurance if the city and the surveillance cameras are in. Pretty well all I have to say. I'm not sure what the next steps are as a committee.
Oh, he's just talking to
Go ahead, Mr. Pullen. Finish off.
Yeah, that was basically my presentation to you, and I appreciate that one. I'm not sure, not being forward or being present in one of these meetings before, what the next steps are as the leader of this delegation.
Sure. Well, we thank you for coming out and for airing your concerns, and sorry to hear about having to go through all that as well. I'm sure some of the councillors will have some comments and questions for both you and some of our staff members, so I'll start with Councillor Powell.
Thank you, through the chair. Mr. Poulin, I really appreciate all the work that you've put into bringing this to council's attention. This is not something that we take lightly in the city. We know that this happened when boaters just started after the winter break going up to their cabins and were parked overnight, and it's very unfortunate that this occurred. It has been brought to the attention of both of our infrastructure managers, Mr. Torberte and Mr. Nazi Ritz are both in the loop. And I have to say I was hoping that one or two of them would both be here today, but seeing that they're not, I will speak on their behalf that I have spoken to them about this, and they've been obviously very busy with the liquid waste project, getting that wrapped up. There's always a lot of loose ends at the end of a project like that. And so they've been rather busy, but they are working on this. They are coming up with their own ideas. I'm not sure how many of them match the ones that you have pointed out here, but we will be finding out in short order because I will be bringing it to their attention, and I'm sure our new CAO will also be talking to them about this. So I think with this delegation, which is what this one of the committee of the whole meeting it's one of its purposes to bring this to council's attention along with staff so that we can address this issue, because We know that the shingle mill has been used as an alternate lately after this occurrence, which is a bit safer than Mowat Bay. So we've been directing traffic there, but we know when the heat that's building up now and sunshine are going to bring many more boaters forward, and we need to do something soon because there's going to be a lot of people having to use Mowat Bay as well as the parking at the shingle mill. So thanks again for bringing this forward, and I hope to hear from our managers soon. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Palm. I've got our CAO wants to say a word, followed by Councillor Southcott and Councillor Elliott.
Thanks. I'm just getting used to the technology here. Yes, Councillor Palm, in fact, this item came up at our directors meeting this past week, and we're looking at a number of the options. We'd really appreciate a copy of your written report with the various suggestions, and I'll have staff respond to your group, and also a report to council, because some of them have budget implications, and we'd have to take a look at what that means. So, yeah, so staff is on it through the CAO, and we'll respond to you as well as back to council budget implications.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Day. Councillor Southcott.
Thank you, Chair. My apologies for not being on video consistently here. I'm in a very dodgy signal area at the moment, but at least I'll be on audio. And I think Mr. Day already addressed what I was going to ask. That was a question with regard to video surveillance that's already been provided for the North Harbor. I know we worked on that for a long time before that was possible to provide, but that work's already been done. I'm sure that staff will be addressing that in their reply to Mr. Poulan and the group. So, and I was going to make a motion that this be referred, but clearly it already has been. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Southcott, for joining us overseas. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for this delegation. I had heard about these incidents already and have been following along with the implications of that. One of the things I thought that might be kind of handy is if Sergeant Weeb had anything to say at all, since he happens to be here on these incidents, that he could share with us at this time, that might be helpful. Through the chair.
Thanks, Councillor Elliott, through the chair. I did a file run for Mowat Bay. I can tell you over the last 5 years, we've responded to 70 incidents down in that area. The most common incident is reports of traffic offenses and loud parties. In 2023, we've only responded to 4 complaints down there, albeit one of those complaints did involve 6 vehicles and certainly describes incidents that the delegation has presented. Other than that, it's a mix between every year. 2022, we had 25 complaints. 2021, we had 12 complaints. 2020, we had 9 complaints. 2019, we had 7 complaints. And 2018, we had 13 complaints. So it's very sporadic on what happens down there. And again, I say we're mostly called down there for partying on the docks and vehicles, mostly doing donuts and damaging other vehicles down there.
Thank you.
Sergeant Weeb.
And then I just wanted to express support for staff maybe coming back to with information on what the costs for a high-tech kind of solution around surveillance might look like. I think that might be the way to go, but I'm not sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Palm.
Yeah, through the chair, just one additional comment. I'm glad the Noel got the police involved in this situation, and it has become very apparent to me that without proper surveillance and identification when the damage and thefts are being done, it is very difficult to apprehend and charge anybody for these type of missteps. And so, for example, I know, talking to Noel, that one of the individuals, I think they identified who it was seen on tape using one of the credit cards in a couple of our stores. And the police cannot do anything without having that surveillance tape to actually see this crime committed. So that's what we're up against in the real world. And I feel very sorry for our RCMP that have to deal with all of the red tape that they deal with these days, but they're up against it too. So thank you, Noel, for bringing this forward and to our attention again.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Poulin. And just as a final reminder to all, whether boat users or anywhere, if you leave your car parked unattended, please try to keep as many valuables out of sight. Park it up, lock it up in the trunk, leave it at home. Take the minimum that you need to reduce the amount of opportunity for those that are trying to take advantage. So thank you for coming today.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Next up, 3.2, we have Mr. Bizzuti.
Good afternoon. For reasons beyond my control, I am unable to present this presentation today to the council. Concerned citizens of Powell River have asked Mr. Dean Gearhart to read the proposal to you folks. All right, so I just thought I'd stand up here and let you know that. All right, thank you very much.
You can just repeat your name in the microphone, sir.
My name is Dean Gerhardt. I live at 7575 Duncan Street, and I'm born and raised here in Powell River. I'd like to acknowledge Mayor Rosnow, Committee Chair, and the members of Council. I'm here to speak today with regards to the name change. Before that, I'll apologize to you in the fact that I am dealing with a neurological disease which causes me to shake and sometimes lose my words. So bear with me, and I'm not going crazy. I'm representing this concerned citizens group that presented the petition to council for the 2,000 names. We have been asking for a referendum on the name change. We have never advocated a no vote or a yes vote, but a vote to allow the people of Powell River to voice their preference to having or not having a name change. We could have had no problem getting more signatures at the time that we were collecting for the petition, but we were under a timeline, as some members of council will remember. We were under a timeline that we had to have our information before council in order to council to take action. I wish to talk about our observations that we have found over the last little while. We went door to door in many places. 80% of the people that we spoke to did not want a name change. And I'm underestimating that, but it was clearly 80%, if not more. We spoke to lots of people who spoke to us, and they would not sign our petition, but most were in favor of no name change. There was a peak survey at one time, and it was taken down, and it's my belief that it was 80% of the respondents did not want a name change at that time. I believe also that was higher. But by the time we started and became interested in it, it was taken down and we could not gather that information. There was also a survey done during and conducted by the contractors for the First Nations during the public engagement process. We understand, we've never heard directly, but we understand it was at least 80%. Some have indicated that they know it was 93%. I don't know how they know that. But we tried to, through a Freedom of Information request, to get that accurate figure. Now, we were turned down from that figure because it was said that the city did not conduct a report and it was not their report. Our group certainly considers that report being half done and paid for by the city, then it should be some accountable to what that was said. We can only assume that the results were favorable for not having a name change, therefore the results were never released. It's our group's opinion that prior to the election, we were having a positive conversation with council at the time, looking for ways to accommodate the public in having a say to the name change by conducting a public opinion poll or a survey similar to the one conducted by the Village of Queen Charlotte during the process to their name change. We are now asking, through the mayor and council, to set a date and conduct a poll or survey. This whole process has gone on for well over a year, and it's time something be done. And that this process should be a priority and being conducted as soon as possible. And we can also put forward that we suggest a group such as the ratepayers or a similar group be involved to help keep the integrity of the poll or survey. Conflict of interest. Our group is concerned that the perception is at least 2 councillors may have a conflict of interest in the matter of the name change. And it can be reasonably determined that private interests will influence their vote on the matter of the name change and may be considered as a conflict of interest. One person is Councillor Isaacson, who was the contractor hired by the First Nations group to conduct the process, and during the process was very open and minded and left no doubt where her thoughts were. Councillor Elliott is always using social media to post support for the name change. We believe that this is contrary to supporting what the public interests are that they've been elected to serve. We are asking Mayor to conduct a review of the possibility of conflict of interest, and if a conflict of interest are real and not just perceived, the appropriate course of action would be that members be recused from the name change deliberations and voting. It also has come to our attention that our MP, Rachel Blaney, is requesting a name change for our riding. And as far as I know, without any consultation with the citizens of Powell River, and has spoken to this matter apparently in Ottawa. She also may have implicated our mayor by saying he was in support of that name change to the riding. I believe for this same reason we have spoken about earlier, that this could be a conflict of interest and may be considered as such. We asked the mayor and council to review her statements and take appropriate action if the statements she has made are not true. Again, thank you for your time today, and I'm here to answer any of your questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Kerhart. Our CAO, who's got almost 3 decades of government experience, wants to share some thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's a lot of case law in and around conflict of interest versus bias, and it's particularly, most of that case is in and around land use legislation and whether or not a person's in conflict voting in land use legislation, but it would be applicable to this. And basically what the courts have recognized is that it would be common for each individual up here to have a viewpoint on a particular issue, and that doesn't disqualify them in particular from voting on land use legislation. So I think probably each and every person here has some interest. All of us who live in Powell River probably have some interest in that particular item. But that doesn't mean that there's a conflict of interest or that it would necessarily impact any process that we do go through. And just for council's information, the mayor had asked me before I started work that this issue had been referred to strategic planning. And so I did, in fact, just get off the phone with Tracy Lawrenson just before the meeting. And she indicated that she felt that the strategic planning information would be back to council in the next couple of weeks. So that would be an excellent vehicle in terms of how you're going to deal with that in terms of first steps. So just wanted to update you there.
Thank you, Mr. Day. Any other councilors? Mayor Wasner.
Thank you. Mr. Gerhardt, thank you for your presentation today. I know you have a long history of contributing to good things here in Powell River, and I appreciate you making the time to work with other people to bring forward the results of your community polling. For the record, I did not ever indicate to our member of parliament that I supported her initiative. I think that she probably is well aware that with an issue like this, it would normally come to council, and for me to speak on behalf of council and the city, we would have had an open discussion here before that would have happened. And it didn't. So I think you've made the important point that in a democracy, when important issues are being discussed, especially at the municipal level, that all voters within the municipality should have the opportunity to express their vote so that the mayor and members of council are well aware of what the position is of the people that live here. And yeah, please, as Councillor Almeida had indicated at the start of the meeting, we are engaging here in respectful dialogue, which means no applause, no sneering, just let's present the information that we all can use to make good decisions in a non-emotive manner. So, Mr. Gerhardt, thank you again for coming here and expressing your opinions in a non-emotive manner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I got Councillor Southcott, followed by Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, just a little technical challenges here. I appreciate Mr. Gerhardt coming forward. Just a couple of points. One is that the process in Haida Gwaii that resulted in a change of the name of what was Queen Charlotte City back to its original name of Dajin Geese took 4 years. This question came up for our city 2 years ago. During that period of time, there's been a considerable change in our council. It certainly was the intention of the previous council, mayor and council, to continue this conversation and discussion. And over the past few months, our current council has been engaged in quite a considerable amount of reorganization. That has had an effect on the continuation of this discussion. I just want to say here categorically that I believe that the discussion absolutely must continue. I have been patient waiting for our council to do what our previous council recommended, and that was to include it in our strategic planning, because I think it's absolutely central to our strategic planning. And so that is in process. Just one more thought that I have that I want to put forward, and that is that, and I heard the previous Hagos state this, it's a point that I agree with him, but my own feeling, and that is that it is our work in this community. We have some real homework to do within our non-Indigenous community in discussion of this question. There is great division within our community. That is my deep belief. Regardless of what numbers some of us may think are on either side of this question, the problem is that there are sides. We need to be talking together to figure out what's going on for us first. And that, we're not even at that point yet. So I am looking forward to our work continuing going forward. And that is a point that we need to start at, and that is discussion within our own community of this city. Thank you, Chair. That's what I have to say about this.
Thank you, Councillor Southcott. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Gerhard, for coming forward and speaking the words that you have. I have been in past council and in this council in favor of consensus building processes throughout the city because I think reconciliation is so important. I am an Indigenous person and I speak from a place where Indigenous peoples haven't always had the voice that they should have had. And my perspective may be different than some of yours, but I've always wanted an inclusive and consensus building process. And I think I'm just reiterating that so that people here know that's what I'm in favor of, is an inclusive consensus building process. I will speak to what I think is best in all of our processes and vote for what I think is right, as every other councillor here will, and we will at some point come forward with a united council voice on what to do next. And none of that makes me in conflict. It just means I'm a voice within the community that is on your council. And I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Councillor Palm, followed by Councillor Doe.
Thank you, Chair. Through the Chair, Mr. Gerhard, I really appreciate your thoughtful words here today. This is not an easy subject for anybody on this council to talk about. And I find it very difficult myself to even address the issue that we're facing, because we've worked long and hard on the relationship for many, many years. And what this is doing to our community, this one single question, is not healthy. It's pitting friends against friends, and it is having a great deal of disruption. And the one thing that I can say is, seeing the process that played out last spring, there's no clear-cut answer unless we put the question to the people that we all represent with an open mind, which we have all been elected to do. When we sit here, we are all of an open mind and working for the people and the citizens of our community, which is currently referred to as Powell River. That's where we are. And I heard your ask today. I'm not going to talk about conflict of interest because that's a very difficult subject. I don't want to even go down that path. But your request for an opinion poll, which we are legally able to do, which is non-binding, is a good way to gauge where our public is at. And I agree with you in your ask that if this is going to cause the great division that it seems to already have done in the past couple of weeks because of somebody standing up in the House of Commons and bringing it back to everybody's table, then perhaps that's something we need to consider, even though I hear time and time again, we don't want an opinion poll from one side. And from the other side, I hear we want an opinion poll. That's how divisive this issue is. I understand where they're coming from. It's not lost on me. So where we go with this, we're going to have a talk in strategic planning. And I would encourage everyone to just calm down, because this is not going to happen overnight. As in Haida Gwaii, this took years. And I'll never forget, and I'm going to repeat, I've already repeated it in here a couple of times, I'm going to repeat it again. When a young student that recently graduated from Brooks that I happened to work with at one time stood up in the forum at the complex during one of the gatherings last spring and said, I understand there are many of you in this crowd that do not want a name change. I get it. But I can tell you, my generation, in 10 years' time, we are going to be working towards it. And if that happens, so be it. But this is a process that is going to take a great deal of time. So I don't want anybody getting in arguments and ruffling feathers in our community, because just cool it. And that's the path to hopefully resolving this at some future date. And if we keep pushing and keep pushing, the answer is, yes, let's see where our citizens are. An opinion poll would be the logical choice. Thank you for listening. And thank you for being here.
Can I just respond to that? The fact of the matter that the longer the process goes on, the more divisiveness seems to be appearing. And nobody really wants that. Doesn't matter whether it's a yes or no.
Yes, Mr. Gerhard, I hear what you're saying, and, you know, sooner might be better than later. And if we conduct one now, and if it fails, you can have another one in the next election in 3 years' time, and we can do it again, because that's where we are. Thank you. Thank you.
Councilor Hope.
I'm going to circle back to where this discussion started with the CAO pointing out to us that the last time council dealt with the name change question, there was a motion to forward and to refer the report of the joint committee, the joint working group, to strategic planning in the new council. That strategic planning, as the CAO has said, is expected to come pretty soon. It'll be an opportunity for everybody on council to have put their oar in the water and discuss the process that council wants to go through to work towards resolving the issue of the possible name change. What I've been saying for at least a year and a half now, every time somebody phones me and says, what do I think about an opinion poll, I point to the letter that we got from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs. And that letter said that if council is going to ask the provincial government to change the name of the city, which is what we'd have to do if we wanted to change the name of the city, they would require some evidence of the opinion of the taxpayers, which is some kind of opinion poll. all. So what I'm asking for is a little bit of patience so council can go through and discuss and come up with a plan about how we're going to approach it and lay that out for how that'll unfold in the next short period of time. So that's going to come. We could talk all night about it here today, but I won't get us any further. We're going to have to get through strategic planning. And hopefully it'll be something will bring the community together over a period of time.
Thank you, Councillor Doudt. Seeing no other hands, I'm going to thank Mr. Gerhard for his time and appreciate you coming out.
Thank you.
Moving on to 5.1, the appointments of officers. Mr. Day has got us today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think council's clear that these are the officers of the municipality. It's just we need a formal resolution in order to complete that, and so Chris put that together for you. So basically, I, as the interim CAO, Chris would be my immediate replacement if I'm not here, and if Chris or I weren't here, Mallory would be the CAO.
We'll just take a quick 30-second pause while some leave the room.
No, I'm talking about.
He was talking about that petition.
Oh, no, that's, the petition he was talking about was in 2022.
Yeah.
That's where they went around. They came to my,
Council and showed you why.
they came to my house.
I was hired by the joint working group. The contract was administered with the nation, but because there needed to be an entity to hire us. But we reported to a joint working group, the city and nation. Yeah, there's lots of inaccuracies in this.
The joint working group wasn't a city committee.
Joint.
Independent committee. Did their work in camera.
All right, Mr. Day, back to you again.
Thank you. And then just the second major issue there is just, as we know, Mallory is your CFO, and I guess we haven't had a resolution that appoints Ryan as a deputy CFO, and you had a really excellent presentation from him last week. So I was just reminded that you make a recommendation to council, and council will pass that, well, hopefully we'll pass that resolution next week. Thank you. Or this week.
And this has to go to council, I believe. Okay. Do I have?
To council.
All right. I got a motion by Councillor Doudt, a second by Councillor Elliott. I don't think we'll have much discussion. Do we have discussion? Just okay. All in favor? Passed unanimously. And 5.2, jump along to community engagement. Who wants to start us off today? Ms. Councillor Isaacson, go ahead.
Okay, so just 3 items in the past few weeks. It was a very, very rainy day for Red Dress Day, lifting our spirits in honoring murdered and missing Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirited. And there was a really great turnout walking from City Hall down to Ajumu, Willingdon Beach, and a really great ceremony led by Cindy Paulin of Cut That Safe and Plum Nation. I also participated with a few other women in community leadership roles to judge the Women in Business Awards, and so those are happening May 25th, and tickets are on sale now, and I look forward to honoring some of the fantastic leaders we have in this community. And then finally, I was invited to participate in some Ayajutham language learning recently, so the language of the Tla'amin Nation and their sister nations like Hamalko and Klahoose. And so today I will say Che Hoch Kwa Tla'amin Kayamu Asna Te'egije, which is a land acknowledgement in Tla'amin honoring the stewardship of the land and the Tla'amin territory. Thank you.
Councillor Doudt.
Okay, and next, it's been a short time, but it's been busy. On Friday the 5th, I participated with a number of other people in a Cathet local governance liaison meeting with Vancouver Coastal Health. I was actually there as a representative of the regional hospital district. There was a couple of others from council who were there, and the whole program was basically about reviving and intensifying communication between local governments and Vancouver Coastal Health after the communication seemed to lapse and be difficult during the COVID time. So some commitments of Vancouver Coastal Health to try to improve on that and have more frequent face-to-face meetings. So I thought that was a positive occurrence. One thing that I enjoyed particularly on May 7th was the Garden Club plant sale. Oliver's got a pretty good-sized garden club, and had a plant sale, and rather than all be focused at the curling club this year, it was distributed around from the senior center to 5 other people who had garden plant sales in their front yards. My front yard was one of them, and I was out there in my lawn chair talking to a huge number of people. It was a great opportunity for community engagement, because I think everything that's been on the council agenda in the last 6 months and the next 6 months was talked about in my backyard and my front yard for considerable time during that time. So I just wanted to thank the Garden Club for the event that they put on, which distributed a lot of plants from different people's greenhouses to other people's gardens, and was, I think, a pretty successful endeavor. It's a week for Ratepayers Associations. I was at the Townsite Ratepayers Association meeting on the Tuesday night, the 9th, and they were talking about the impact that they think that our revised maple and sycamore plan will have on their community, and they were talking about that in detail at that meeting, and look forward to future consultations on it. Thursday at 7 was the Wildwood Ratepayers, and there's quite a few things to talk about out in Wildwood. Some potential development on land that has been laying fallow, I suppose, for a number of years. Already shows up in the official community plan, and people are concerned because they've seen surveyors out surveying the property, and they're thinking maybe some development is going to happen. A lot of discussion over some blasting that that occurred in the neighborhood a few weeks ago, and disturbed a lot of people with the noise in the community, and they're looking for answers on that. And what did we have? We had a special council meeting on the 12th, and today at 1 p.m. I participated in a regional district, regional parks and trails strategy open house, which is looking at the service that all of the taxpayers in the city contribute to, which is regional parks strategy and the regional parks service of the regional district. We've been going through a process. I think we're in phase 4 of the process right now to get everybody's input on what they would like to see happen to parks and trails in the Cathet Regional District. And you still have an opportunity to participate. The next session is from 7 to 8 p.m. this evening, and there's a survey online. You can find a portal to this Zoom connection on the Cathet Regional District website. I encourage people to do that, because this is one of those opportunities to get in on the ground floor of consultation and say what you'd like parks in our region to look like. So that's my report for tonight.
We'll just continue around the horn, and then Councillor Southcott will come to you next. I just had a few things. In the last 2 weeks, I had a chance to attend a session hosted by the Youth and Family Center, which was on internet awareness, led by our community police officer, liaison officer, Constable Perry. It was unfortunate that there was only a few families in attendance, because the information was very valuable, and a little scary to hear some of the things that teenagers and youth are encountering online and getting trapped in as well. So they have another session on bullying that I'll mention on Thursday, but that's coming up at the end of the month. So hopefully more families can make it out. I had a chance to have a couple coffee meetings with a few other community members on matters related to them. And then just last week, I actually attended a webinar on rural transit solutions. And there's actually a national fund on rural transit solutions that might be appealing, as I know traveling down the coast in public transit is always a concern for many of our residents. So, Councillor Southcott, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Well, I certainly haven't been doing anything local for the past 2 weeks. But what I have been doing is, I could say, considerable research, both into my own, you could say, Indigenous past. My grandfather came from the country I'm now visiting. I'm currently located just east of a small village called Doolin in County Clare, Ireland, which is very close to where he came from. I've been visiting many villages, towns, cities in Ireland and England, and looking with real interest, fascination at how things work culturally, socially, and functionally, I guess, materially. Systems both so different and similar to our systems. Transportation, as was just mentioned. Fascinating how what transportation systems are used here, even infrastructure, waste management, governance systems. I have had very interesting conversations with many people about all these concerns, subjects. And there are a growing number of people, in community who are engaged and concerned, and to see how the similarities and the differences in how this world over here handled the challenges of the past 3 years, and the challenges coming out of that, energy. Anyway, pretty fascinating what's going on, and I'm looking forward to being back there next week to carry on with our work together. But I'm really enjoying this beautiful place that has history of my ancestors going back thousands of years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Southcott. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Chair. So I did attend some of the events that some of the other councillors have noticed. I went to the Missing Murdered Indigenous Women Girls Two-Spirited candlelight service on Wellington Beach, which made my hair wet. And I very much appreciated being able to hold a candle and be a part of that. I also got to spread the jam on the bannock before the ceremony started so that people would have bannock peanut butter and jam to eat. And so that was my contribution, because I didn't go up to do the walk part. Anyway, a very good day, even though it was wet out. I did a walking tour of trails in the community forest area bordering the Duck Lake Park with some folks that build trails. So what they were trying to point out is some of the things that were done by the community forest operators that were super helpful to all of the trails, and some of the things that were not so helpful. And so we got to walk along various trails and see some of the ones that are slated for forestry activity in the next little while, and discuss the trails and the community forest operations in that area. I did go to the local government and Vancouver Coastal Health meeting that Councillor Dowd had mentioned earlier. Attended that. It was located in our our art center, or the art center, I guess it's called. There was the wonderful display of the youth was still up on the walls there. It was a very good venue for the meeting, and we had a lot of art involved, and we could look at during our discussions, so I very much enjoyed that. And then I went on a trip up to my traditional territory in the Kitwingan-Kispiox valleys in northern BC. I got to meet up with my family on the family Larson Ranch in Kispiox. We were celebrating the life of my great-aunt June, and I very much enjoyed that. It was an extremely beautiful place to be at this time of year. So that's me.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Councillor Plum.
Thank you, through the chair. A couple of things that I just want to touch on. Last week I had the pleasure of meeting our new interim CAO for an hour and having a good discussion on many of the items that we're facing. And I'm sure many on council also had that opportunity, if not all. And this is a great way to start off in the communication front. And I just wanted to say welcome. You bring a wealth of experience to the table, and we greatly appreciate that. So thank you, Mr. Day. Secondly, what did I want to talk about next? I'll just touch briefly. A number of councilors have been approached on baseball issues and volunteerism in terms of our parks, and this is has a lot of history in our community, and because we've always been understaffed in our parks department with a number of personnel on the ground this time of year when baseball's starting up and soccer's ending and everything else is going on, the grass is growing to beat the band. On many occasions, the people that run our sports youth community volunteer their time, and they also in the past, on many occasions, volunteer their services to make sure those playing fields are prepared adequately so that all our youth get maximum value out of participating in whatever sport they're involved in. So we are dealing with an issue with baseball, and we've contacted the president of baseball, had a discussion with him. We will follow that up and hopefully get a resolution to volunteerism in our community on our terms of our sports. Harbor issues. I just want to reach out to our staff, say thank you to Jen and our managers for making repairs down to many of our water pipes so that people can treat their boats with fresh water and in our harbor. And also the hoses have been upgraded so that they're housed and safe. So the staff is listening, and we will continue to make improvements to our harbor. And I think I'm going to say that's enough for now, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Palm. I'll piggyback one comment and thank the staff who fixed our water park at Willingdon Beach. I'm sure there's many families in town that are very appreciative during our hot days. Finish this off, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Attended two events at the Art Center, which Councillor Elliott had mentioned. I particularly liked the youth art display, and I'm hoping that my offer to purchase one of the paintings comes through. I was also with Councillor Doughton, Councillor Elliott, for the engagement with the coastal health. And I actually had a follow-up discussion with the senior physician here who has a concern about one of their staff who cannot find a place to live. So I told her that that was something that we were looking at, and I met with Brett Gies, who actually is the developer of a 140-unit development within a stone's throw of the hospital. So I indicated to him that the management at the hospital are going to be very happy when a new facility opens up, which could realistically be excellent accommodation for doctors, nurses, technicians, all of the people that are required to keep our hospital operating. I followed up on a meeting that Councillor Elliott and I had with a individual that's proposing to do further hemp construction in Powell River. And I think this is, again, a good opportunity for the city. We've got somebody who's young, dynamic, got a proven record, just finishing up a hemp house in Lund. And so I'm looking forward to following up and having further discussions to see what the city could do to facilitate the individual coming to Powell River, settling roots here, and creating jobs. I attended the Senior Citizens Association general meeting in which they were discussing the Seniors Day. It's part of the International Seniors Program. It's normally held on September 31st, which is a Sunday. So the Seniors Association here will have an open house on September 30th, which is the Saturday. And I know some of the councillors attended last year. It was a wonderful event. And just to give you an idea that the Senior Citizens Association almost doubled their membership as a result of showing seniors in this community a whole range of opportunities, and especially coming out of COVID, where isolation was a major issue. So really positive, so that if you know any seniors that are either new to town or are here for whatever reason, really would like to get out and play cribbage, throw darts, a little bit of horseshoes, whatever. I think this is a great opportunity in our community. And the last, Councillors Palm and Almeida and myself met with the chair of the Powell River Kings board and their general manager just to discuss opportunities. I think we all appreciate what a great resource the Kings are here in Powell River. And I know, having played hockey as a youth growing up in Edmonton, we all looked at the Edmonton Oilers, which was the junior team for the Detroit Red Wings. And so the fact that we had these, what we consider to be idols, there. So I'm sure what I've learned about the under 12, under 14, under 16 hockey players here in Powell River, this is another great opportunity. And so we'll look for ways to support them however we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Palm. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you. I wanted to follow up on Mayor Wasnow's comments on the hemp block construction person, Jason. He stopped in at the boatyard on Saturday, so I'd forgotten about that meeting because I didn't write it down because I was working at the same time at the boatyard. But his business sounds amazing. His construction is carbon neutral, which is nice. It's being used a lot. The technology is being used a lot in Europe right now. The longevity of the buildings surpasses the regular type of wood frame. They use wood frames still, but the hemp part takes the place of all of the insulation, the exterior, the whole cladding, the whole works of it. It's all part of the hemp construction. And his goal is to produce panels that he would ship all over the place. And he's looking to relocate, and he's hoping to relocate here. So it's he does building, but he also wants to be a manufacturer. So I thought that was pretty exciting that he was looking at coming here. Anyway, thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Moving on to our question and answer period. I know the phone numbers are already on the screen. Mr. Galinsky, we'll start with you. And if anyone's listening on the phone, the number to dial in would be 1-833-782-7295, the meeting ID 405-143-301. Mr. Galinsky.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the opportunity to ask some questions. With regard to possible name change, it has been discussed at this meeting that the matter came up at strategic planning, and my presumption is, I didn't attend the meeting sadly, that there was a fulsome discussion with councillors during that particular time. I am guessing now that the matter has been left with the facilitator consultant to come back with some recommendations. Am I correct in that assumption, Chair?
I'm going to have to pass the throne on that, pass the torch, as I wasn't at that event particularly. I saw Councillor Dout's hand, and then pass it to the CIO as well.
I don't think strategic planning has come to a conclusion on what the next steps are.
I thank you for that response.
You?
I concur with what Councillor Dout said, that the next step is, in fact, Jessica, myself, and Mallory are going to meet with the facilitator and try and produce a document that then council can look at. So as you indicate, the complete steps aren't determined as yet. So we have to bring a document back for council to look at.
Thank you, Chair. So I presume then that given the status of what has just been disclosed, that there can be no prediction of whether or not this is going to be dealt with within the term of this particular council. I thank you for the opportunity to ask the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Galinsky. Mr. Whitaker, anything from TV Powell River?
No questions, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any callers online? Okay. Anyone from the gallery that has any questions related to today's activities? Seeing none, I'm going to move on to our next stage. We have a motion to a closed meeting. Any volunteers? Councillor Isaacson.
Yes, I recommend that following adjournment of this regular meeting, council move to a closed meeting to discuss matters covered by the community charter under sections 91B, personal information about an identifiable individual who is being considered for a municipal award or honor, or who has offered to provide a gift to the municipality on condition of anonymity, C, labor relations or other employee relations, G, litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality, I, the receipt of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, J, information that is prohibited or information that, if it were presented in a document, would be prohibited from disclosure under Section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are at their preliminary stages and that, in the view of council, could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if they were held in public. L, discussions with municipal officers and employees respecting municipal objectives, measures, and progress reports for the purposes of preparing an annual report under Section 90, Annual Municipal Report, and N, the consideration of whether a council meeting should be closed under a provision of this subsection or subsection 2.
Seconded by Councillor Elliott. All in favor? So moved. And motion to adjourn by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Isaacson. All in favor? So moved. Thank you, everyone.